Hey, welcome back to the Cloud Scholars Podcast. My name is Kieran Tross. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch in this video and allow me into your day. So in today's video, what I want to do is talk to you about a very important topic. I'm going to be providing you cybersecurity tips to avoid identity theft. Now, identity theft is rampant right now. There are a lot of people who are dealing with identity theft. And one of the things that's really bad about identity theft is, one, people don't even know when it happens. And then two, they don't even know how it happens. So I want to do is bring awareness to you so that this way you can now go throughout your day and your life and say, okay, I probably shouldn't do that because I can probably get scammed or somebody can steal my identity. So I'm going to provide you 10 tips to avoid identity theft. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to also provide some extra tips in the description as well. So that this way that you can, help yourself and help your family, and hopefully you could be a blessing to somebody else as I'm providing you information. And hopefully I'm being a blessing to you as well. So let's get started with the identity theft tips. And one thing I want to say to you is identity theft is very, very serious. So I'm very passionate about this topic. As you all know, or if it's your first time watching any of my videos, I work in cybersecurity. I've been working in IT for about 17 years. So it's really important to me that I provide some information to you all and help you out in your day. So the number one thing that I want to bring up is use strong and unique passwords. So a lot of people tend to try to use passwords that are very easy because they're just lazy. And not even just lazy, you just got a lot of things going on in life. And mostly with older folks, like people in like their 60s and 70s, they tend to have a hard time with dealing with passwords. Millennials like myself, a little bit easier. And then obviously the younger generation, it's easier for them. But people make that common error where they make these passwords such as, I don't know, summer 2023 or spring 2023 or whatever the year is. Another thing that they do is use their kids' names in their passwords. They'll probably use their street address in their passwords. Anything that is associated with you, I would recommend you not use. Try to use something that's a little bit different, but can also be something that you can recognize or remember. So using strong passwords is extremely important. I would say use something at least 8 to like 12 characters, probably at least 10 characters if you can do that. And you want to do a combination. So you want to use letters, capitals, special characters like hashtag, exclamation marks. You want to do things like that and numbers in your passwords, because that will make it harder for for threat actors to be able to confiscate and guess your password, because really it's really a guessing game, but they use different ways to kind of figure out, okay, this is probably what this person's password is. So number one thing I would say is use strong and unique passwords. The second thing is enable two-factor authentication. So two-factor authentication, so normally it's your username and password, that's single-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is going to say username, password, and then, oh yeah, I'm going to send you a text message, or I'm going to send you a request to Authenticator app. So yeah, it's different authenticator apps. There's Google has Authenticator app, Okta has Authenticator app, Ping has Authenticator app, Microsoft has Authenticator app. There's a lot of different Authenticator app options that you have, so that this way when you sign in to your whatever system, that they can probably send you a text, use Authenticator app, or even call you as well. So what I like to do when I'm setting things up is I don't really like using the Authenticator app where you can just click yes, because what I find is, all my years of working in IT, that sometimes if a threat actor guesses the username and password, well, the username is pretty simple to get into, and I'll explain that as well. But if they get into the password, the person might be having a busy day, and they might say, oh crap, my laptop's probably acting up the Wi-Fi, and they might just click yes, and they will let the person in using the Authenticator app. Microsoft has come up with some extra authentication, such as, and Google has it as well, number matching. So whatever shows up on the screen, if you go to sign in, you need to put that information into the Authenticator app, which is really great. Another thing that you can use for a two-factor authentication is FIDO keys. So it's basically like this little small device, and what you'll do is you have to plug it into your system, and then this way you can now get into whatever application or system that you're using. So this number two tip is enable two-factor authentication, and try to use a way of getting into your system or whatever you're setting up, whether it's a social media or especially your bank account. So this way, if somebody were to try to get into it, they would have to authenticate using one another device or another layer. So the third thing that I want to mention, third tip, is regularly monitor financial statements. So if you're going into your bank account probably like once a month, I would definitely say you need to amplify that occurrence. You need to make sure that you are going into your bank account probably once a week or twice a week. I go into my bank account to see exactly how my spending is going, and that's just me. But I would definitely recommend going into your bank account and using a monitoring service. A lot of these banks use monitoring service. You could put a threshold to how much money you're spending, so this way you get an alert. So I have thresholds on different credit cards because I'm like, okay, well, this is how much I normally spend. And even if I go over it, I get an email that comes in and lets me know. The credit monitoring service does watch and see exactly how you spend your money. And if they see any anomalies, they're going to say, okay, let me reach out, or they might not even approve that purchase. And you may have to call them in order to approve that purchase and be able to spend your own money. But this is a preventative way of making sure that nobody goes into your account and does anything malicious. So number 4 would be protect your social security number. So protecting your social security number is extremely important because you don't want to just have your social security number everywhere. If somebody asks you for their social security, they should really only be asking if, let's say, if you're getting into a new job or you're opening a bank account. There's no reason for anybody really be calling you, or you should be even walking around with your social security number as well. So be very protective about your social security number. The next one that I want to bring up is beware of phishing emails. So phishing emails are emails where people act like they're somebody else. So you may get an email, let's just say you work for your company and you get an email from, human resources say, hey, please send me your information. We need to review and make sure everything is all right. You need to look at that address because the address is one of the things that threat actors use. So they'll say, okay, you know what we'll do is, and this segues into what I'm going to go into next, which is social media, is what they'll do is they'll say, okay, you know what, I'll go on social media and I'll find out where you work at. They'll find out your information, and then they'll find out who is who in your organization. So what they'll do is they'll say, okay, somebody who's in finance or billing, and they'll say, okay, listen, or even HR, and they'll send you an email as that person and then ask you to send them information. Once you give them that information, now you've given them your social, you've given them your bank and routing number, all that other stuff, and then they'll take that information, and then they'll do is now try to access your information and take your money. So beware of phishing emails. I actually saw a phishing email one time where one guy was demonstrating how phishing emails work, and what he did was he actually set up a server and made it look like a website and made it look like PayPal, and it didn't have obviously the same URL. It said pay, play, or something like that. But if you look at it, you wouldn't really notice. But if you look at the website itself, he had the same website as PayPal, meaning the colors, the themes, everything looked like PayPal. And what he did was he would send people emails as if he was PayPal, and they'd click on the link. The link wouldn't go to PayPal's website. It would go to his website. And when you put your username and password in, what happened? You click submit. It took your information, right, and changed it. Even though your password show up with those, with the black dots, it would take that information, pull it into his system, and he would be able to see and read all that information. And when you click submit, what it did was redirect you to PayPal's actual website. And most 9 out of 10 times, the person's like, "Oh, something's wrong with my internet," or probably the site just got a little buggy. And then they put their information in again, and they go into PayPal. But the thing is, what he did was he gave you his site, then redirect you to the actual site. When you signed in, you probably were like, I don't know what the heck that was about. And then you just went on with your day. But now he has your information, and he's able to get into your PayPal, probably change your password, and now make a whole bunch of purchases under your name. So that is ways that people are doing with phishing emails. So you got to be very careful, and really pay attention to the address, because that will let you know exactly where it comes from. And then also, if you didn't ask for anything or request any information, then if you're seeing something come into your mailbox or somebody's doing anything like that, you should probably just disregard it. So that kind of segues me into protect your social media profiles. So social media, everybody wants to show what they're doing, what they're eating, all that other good stuff. But they also put in information like the kids' information. They're putting down the front of their house, where they live at. I can easily take that picture and put it in Google and figure out your address. So you want to be very careful what you're putting down there, because this kind of leads back to the passwords. If I have your social media, I can now say, okay, your kid's name. Let me put your kid's name in, and let me guess, what your password is, and they'll be able to get in. Another thing that people are doing is everybody's really on LinkedIn. So it's easy to find out what company you work for, and then all you have to do is call the company, right? And you probably get a receptionist or whoever, and then ask for this person's email and say, hey, you're trying to reach out, you want to, talk to somebody, and I don't know, finance, we're trying to sell something, act like a vendor. And once you find out one person's email address, you can pretty much get everybody's email address, because the naming convention is pretty much the same. So you want to be very careful about your social media and what you allow to be publicly viewed. So if you want to take pictures of your kids, you can. If you want to put their names on there, that's totally up to you, but it really shouldn't be associated with your passwords or anything like that, because that helps people figure out who you are. And that also ties into the phishing emails, because they're using social media in order to gain that access and to get that knowledge about who you are. So talked a little bit about phishing emails. We talked about protect social media. And then the next thing I want to talk to you about is be wary of public Wi-Fi. So I mentioned public Wi-Fi on one of my other videos as well. We're talking about just being very cautious. So when it comes to public Wi-Fi, if you didn't notice, when you go to any public Wi-Fi, what happens is you get this message that comes up first and says, you are entering a, public Wi-Fi. It is an open access area. Be cautious about giving any personal information, any sensitive information. And the reason why they're doing that is because anybody can now connect to that public Wi-Fi, connect using some type of software, like a network analyzer. And what they could do is they can see everything that's going on the network. So what they'll see is password information. They could find out about a lot of, details about who you are. I've done it myself, but I didn't use it for any malicious purposes, but I was just learning. I went into a Barnes and Nobles, and when I got into the Barnes and Nobles, what I did was I pretty much just connected to the Wi-Fi there, and I was able to see people's Facebook logins. So you want to be very careful about using public Wi-Fi, because that is one of the reasons why people are getting hacked. Like airports are very notorious for this kind of stuff. All right, so the next thing that we're doing, and I kind of jumped around a little bit, is I talked about where public Wi-Fi, I've talked about social media profiles, and now let's talk about being cautious with online shopping. So when you shop online, make sure it is a reputable site that people are aware of and know about, and then also make sure that you're seeing HTTPS. When you're saying HTTP, it is not secure. HTTPS says the connection is more secure, and they're using different payment methods. So I really don't like using my credit card at any site except for Amazon probably, but I don't really like using my credit card anywhere. So if there is a portion where it says use PayPal and I can authenticate with PayPal, I would do something like that. But be very cautious about the sites that you are visiting, because if they're not verifiable sites, and you're just like, oh, you found about a new site that you can make a purchase, and you saw like a cute outfit that you want to wear, or a nice sweater, or whatever you want to use, I would say be very cautious about that. The next thing we want to talk about is verify caller identities. So one thing I would tell you is that the calls that are coming in, these phishing calls that come in, have amplified, I don't know, at least for me, for like over the last 5 years. It's just they always calling in. They call in with numbers similar to your numbers. They might have something a little bit off. And to me, I look at these and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Why are people doing this? And then not even just why are people doing this, who's falling for this? And if they're constantly calling me like this, then somebody is falling for these type of calls. So this is one of the reasons why I want to make this video, is because not everybody is aware of this. So if you get in a phone call and you didn't, request a service, and they're calling you about certain stuff, you should be very cautious about giving out any type of information. To be honest with you, I just hang up, or sometimes I don't even pick up the phone call, because sometimes you'll get phone calls and you'll pick up and you won't really hear anything, and then they'll hang up. So just be very cautious about verifying caller identities. So I believe I gave you about 9 different ones. I have 10 here, but 2 of them are kind of similar to each other. One was review bank account and credit card statements regularly for unauthorized transactions. That was one of the other ones, but then I also talked about regularly monitor financial statements. So they're 2 different ones, but they're very similar, and I kind of intertwined them together. So, this is a quick and simple video. I just wanted to provide you some information. I hope it was beneficial for you. As always, as I say all the time, I like to end these videos with some type of motivational quote and provide some type of positivity to your day. So today's quote is from Nelson Mandela. It is, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. I'm using the information and the education that I've received and I've obtained to provide information to you. And hopefully you can do the same thing for somebody else. You are on the right pathway. Just from watching this video, it separates you from so many other people that you're really willing to learn some more, or perhaps you're trying to get into cybersecurity and you want to learn some different tools that you can use to kind of avoid certain stuff, and you want to talk to different clients. Not really sure, but hopefully this information was beneficial to you. Once again, my name is Kieran Tross. If you haven't done so already, please smash that like and subscribe button. It definitely will help me out a lot. I want to thank you again for watching this video. And as always, you know what my motto is to get you from scholar to consultant and from consultant to expert. Thank you, and see you next time.